Sega, indeed. Welcome to this video about the Sega Mega Drive Mini. I should be coming out of a barrel like Sonic here, but that's okay, he's got that covered. So this is a video review of this amazing retro unit, and it's obviously Sega's answer to Nintendo's recent Classic Mini systems. I've got the Super Nintendo Entertainment System Classic Mini here, and I must say that's awesome. I didn't buy the NES one because I wasn't a NES kid, but I certainly was a Sega kid. I remember my Mega Drive like it was yesterday. Christmas '92 I got mine. And I must say, over the past few years, there have been some small consoles that are meant to be Mega Drives, and they're Mega Drive branded by AtGames, but it's pretty well documented that they are universally awful. There are emulation problems everywhere, poor frame rates, awful sound, with some of the sound effects out of key and the music as well. So basically it's very refreshing to see this unit that doesn't have AtGames written anywhere on it. It's actually converted by M2. All of these games are running by M2's emulation, and they're so good. It's really, really great to see the games looking the way they should look after all these years through an HDMI connection. So let's load up the unit into its main menu and let's have a go. When you load it up and see the main menu, what a list of games you're presented with. I mean, it's pretty amazing the stuff they've got on here. Obviously I'm disappointed there's no Virtua Racing or Super Monaco Grand Prix on here, or, Quackshot, Flicky, Fantastic Dizzy, EA Hockey, or oh god, but let's not focus on what it hasn't got, yeah? Despite the licensing issue obviously being a problem with retro collections like this, I'm really happy to see that Castle of Illusion and World of Illusion are finally in here, so thank you to Disney for letting us play these Mickey Mouse flavoured gems again. Personally, World of Illusion was the fourth Mega Drive game that I ever owned as a kid, and it had a huge impact on me. I mean, this bit in my old iPhone game Squeak Streams clearly looks nothing like it, does it? Nope. Another inclusion is Road Rash 2, which has aged incredibly well. I mean, the frame rate is pretty much the worst frame rate ever in a good racing game. I mean, if anyone can name in the comments a better racing game with a worse frame rate than this, then be my guest. But there's so much going on the screen, it's fair enough. I think there's actually sprite scaling going on, so I mean this is a real coding miracle. The people who made this game were absolute geniuses in their field. But while I would have liked to have seen M2 have a crack at smoothing out the frame rate, it's still playable even when it looks like a flickerbook. And of course it makes me long for a modern day Road Rash yet again. But well, who knows. The machine comes with two control pads, but sadly they're the old 3-button type, which was standard at the time, which is great for nostalgia, but not so great for playing Street Fighter 2. You had to tap start to toggle between kicks and punches, which is absolutely rubbish by today's standards. And for those who favour holding the button to access each set, which I've actually heard someone say they do, you're going to find actually that holding the start button for a few seconds opens up the emulator's quick save menu, so you better get used to just tapping it. Well, either that or just play Street Fighter 2 on literally anything else. And it was amazing back in the day suddenly to have Nintendo's greatest game on SNES there on the Mega Drive and running really well, but by today's standards, even Sega fans will have to admit that this is a pretty bad looking version with its lack of colours, even though it does run ridiculously quickly on Hyper. That's blast processing for you. The 720p output looks fine on my HD TV, so I don't actually have any complaints about that, even though it's not 1080. What I do have a complaint about is the hardware of the controller itself. While the dimensions are perfect, and it's actually an eye-opener to realise you are probably meant to put your fingers around the top like you do on modern controllers the whole time, this feels very, very comfortable. The D-pad feels too sharp-edged and lightweight compared to an original Mega Drive pad. Still, it works incredibly well. I mean, with Mega Drive pads in the past, you'd often have to push the A, B or C button quite firmly to get it to register, but with this, as soon as the button is actually depressed, it's registered. It's amazing. The hardware of this tiny, beautifully formed unit is just wonderful. I mean, the power switch actually works, complete with a, albeit slightly delayed, power light. The cartridge flaps even open if you put your fingers in there, and although you can't load games through there, it's still really cool. But best of all, the reset button is now a shortcut to those save state options, which is just brilliant. I find myself playing Road Rash and pushing the reset button, and it just feels so cool, even though it clicks instead of just being a sort of push thing. The finish on the glossy bit on the top of the Mega Drive is ultra shiny, and the matte finish on the rest of it looks just right. It really is like a tiny Mega Drive, only without having to tune it into your TV via an RF connection, and without having to blow on the cartridges when they don't load. I've experienced some glitches, but I think that's only ones that would have happened in the real thing so far. There's one in Sonic 2 here where I fell through this bridge, also one in Road Rash where I got stuck on top of a car. So I don't think I've experienced any major problems with emulation. Sonic's title screen doesn't have his tummy on show, which means that this is emulating the Mega Drive's layers correctly, and the sound is pretty much exactly how I remember it, albeit playing through better speakers. Of course, it's weird to see some of the games looking so crisp when you remember them being so fuzzy, but I definitely prefer the modern sharp-edged pixel look for games like Streets of Rage 2. There is a CRT scanline emulator option, which actually looks pretty authentic on my TV, but a little dark perhaps, especially if you're playing on a small screen, but that's not a problem unique to this system, that happens in emulators in general. There is also a very slight delay in control inputs, which is sad but about par for the course these days, and haven't really noticed the delay in sound effects that other people have noted. Maybe I'm just lucky with my setup, but basically everything is less laggy than the Switch's otherwise superb Mega Drive collection. I thought this is really good. I've only really noticed any kind of delay in Sonic, but even so I'm still able to turn in some pretty good times. I already own all of the games on here that I'd want to play anyway, most in original cartridge form, but I must say these days I rarely play them unless it's on Switch. Now, however, with everything just a click of the remote and a flick of the power switch away, I'm all over the Mega Drive again. It's so cool! So many modern games have traded quality and density of gameplay for longevity and just too many options, too many things to do. Road Rash 2 is the perfect example of this. It's a brilliant idea, superbly implemented, so even when you're playing just the 5 tracks through at different level tiers, it's always fun and very, very challenging. Of course, not all old games hold up quite so well, but there's enough good stuff on here to more than justify that $69.99 price point. Now this unit does have 2 bonus games, that's Mega Drive Tetris, which was released in tiny numbers before being recalled, I believe, back in the day, and it's a weird thing to see since Tetris and Sega aren't usually mentioned in the same sentence. But I must say the inability to rotate blocks on the top of the screen is very annoying, and the music is awful to say the least. It's no Tetris 99, is it? And the brand new port of Darius hasn't held my attention just yet, though there's plenty on here I haven't devoted much time to, if any, over the years, so it's nice to have some new Mega Drive goodness to explore. Overall then, I'd say that if you or anyone that you know played and loved a Mega Drive back in the 90s, then this is absolutely brilliant. You've got to get hold of it for them or you. If you're here because you're not sure you should get one, then do. It's far more than just a quick nostalgia kick. It's a legitimate gaming machine to keep you entertained for many evenings. So I give this a very well-deserved 5 stars. Since there are no half stars on this channel, it's wholeheartedly recommended despite its few small issues. Now, give me a Cyber Razor cut, as well as a sub and a like, and check out these other retro gaming videos, as well as my new review of Grid on modern machines, and take care until next time. Thanks so much for watching. Cheers.